Oh, thank God, Jeff, you can see me or hear me. Oh, wait, I did the dissolve too soon. Oh, wait, let's go back. Okay, now we're going to do this. That's better. All right. Welcome, everybody, to Logic Live on this beautiful Sunday. Oh, man, what a day. Even my cat is enjoying this session. Jeff, if you can hear me, how were the levels? Oh man, and Jeff, I should have listened to you. I really should have. I should have stayed. Well, I'll tell everybody the whole story when we start. Here we go, Randy. This is for you. All right, I think I got it, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Logic Live. My name is Andy. It's Sunday, and fun story here. Like we had totally, and by we I mean I had made peace with my broadcast system here and kind of figured out how to do this over like directly to YouTube, and it was great, totally great, totally nailed it. And that's what we were going to do. I had set this whole episode up for that, and then went and booked more guests than my software could accommodate. I have this great new app that allows me to have up to 4 guests call in, and I have like 6. And so I just poor Jeff, who I love dearly, like helped me out. We did an experiment the other night. I don't know if Cesar is going to join us today, but the other night we accidentally, well, not accidentally, I was at the wheel, right? We accidentally went live to YouTube to try to like test things out. And I thought I had it all figured out, where I was going to be able to go right from Zoom, which is what we're using today, out to YouTube. And well, as Randy likes to say, shit happens. But anyway, it's Logic Live, everybody. Welcome. Let's get underway. Today is going to be a great show. This is Stories of Old Flame. And let's get this rocking and rolling. This episode of Logic Live is brought to you by Synesys.io, solutions development, integration, and support, supporting flame artists since 1997. And we want to welcome back to Logic Live our friends from AJA. AJA and Flame together since 2006. If you need anything in the way of high-end video hardware for streaming or for video I/O, look no further than our friends at aja.com. God love you, Steve Losi. And of course, let's give a shout out to our friends at Boris Effects. They make the best plugins in the business. If you have a need for any of their products in the Boris Effects suite, and Randy, I'm going to try to get it right this time. It is Sapphire, Mocha, Continuum, Silhouette. I believe there's a new Silhouette that just released last week, and Optics. You can save 15% on everything that they sell if you use the code Logic-15 at checkout. Boris Effects, thank you very much, guys. And if you need anything in the way of engineering support for your system, either at home or at the office, look no further than Gunpowder. Reach out to them at info@gunpowder.tech. Thank you, Tom and Tom from Gunpowder. And let's take a moment to thank all of our patrons on Patreon. We really could not do what we're doing without you. Thank you for your support. Randy and I currently have 3 levels of support up on Patreon, and we are going to be adding some more. He just had a crazy week. I had a crazy week, and we're about to jump back in and give you some more value for being a patron of Logic TV. Thank you to all our patrons. We added a couple more since our last episode, and really, thank you so much for supporting what we're doing here at Logic. If you'd like to support what we're doing at Logic, get some great swag and some great discounts and some exclusive content, head on over to patreon.com/LogicTV and sign up. And finally, I heard from another flame artist last week that they checked out Jeff Kyle's amazing 3-part tutorial on Connect and Conform as our first installment for Logic Academy, and they just loved it. They were blown away. Thank you very much, Jeff. I have the privilege of working with Jeff every day, and he's a great guy. It's a wonderful tutorial on the whole Connect and Conform workflow. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, please do, and I guarantee you'll be off and running. Randy and I have some exciting announcements to make soon as far as Logic Academy is concerned. So, stay tuned to this channel for more of that. All right, my friends. Whew, man, what a week. Okay, let's see. There's this epic thread on the Logik Forum called Stories of Old Flame. It's got over 200 posts, and it's filled with some amazing stories and pictures and clips. And it got me thinking a lot about the beginning. I started on Flame in 1995 at a place in New York called RVI, Rut Video Inc., which is no longer with us. I don't believe Mr. Rutt is with us either, but that Flame ran on a desk side Onyx. It was version 3.9.1. I remember they installed that right before I got there. And I think we had enough storage for like 30,000 frames of SD video, which is like 15 or 16 minutes. And, you know, the hardware alone back then cost $250,000, and Flame was almost as expensive. And I remember seeing it for the first time and just see like there was nothing else like it. You know, there was uncompressed video, a 3D compositing environment, paint, text, and keying all in one package. And like working on Flame back in those days, you know, was like working with the Wright brothers. I mean, like everything was new, you know, like we were kind of making it up as we went along, and the tools were so cutting edge that like the hardware had trouble keeping up sometimes. Um, anyway, it was an amazing time, and I read this thread, and I encourage you all to check out the thread. We're going to look at some of it today over on the forum, and I'm really excited to be able to have some people who were there at the beginning and were there for the ride with us here today. So I'm going to ask my guests to turn on their cameras and their microphones, and I'll introduce them one by one. Oh, here they come! Oh, this is so exciting. Oh, hello, everybody. Thank you for putting up with the train wreck of my intro. It's all downhill from here, I promise. Okay.
I can't get my camera on.
Nope. Ladies and gentlemen, oh, here we go.
Okay.
You know, what's funny is it's very similar to back in the days when the first Flames came out, and that you couldn't get video to work, and you'd have to call Jean-Francois to try to figure that out for us. So see how that's the first of many times I'm gonna weave that thread back in there.
Discrete Logic Technical Support. This is Philippe. How can I help you?
not you, the other one. Let me see. Let's see. So we're on Zoom here, which means that everybody is in a different configuration of windows. So I'm just going to go in no particular order. We have here with us today a wonderful collection of artists and technicians and legends. And then there's me. But first, we have all the way from Los Angeles, we have Emigh. Why don't you say hello, Emigh?
Hello. How are you?
Hello. From Miami, we have Wally Rodriguez.
Hello.
From New York, we have Kirk Balden's cat and Kirk Balden.
Howdy, from both of us.
And then from Minneapolis, the lovely and talented Jake Parker.
Peace.
Peace, my brother. All the way from Oslo, we have Sinan Vural.
Hi, guys. All the way from the backwaters.
And from Jean-Francois, are you in Montreal right now?
No, I'm in LA.
Oh, and then all the way from LA, but by way of Montreal, we have Jean-Francois Panisset. How are you?
Hello.
Well, welcome, everybody. I figure we could probably start with something simple, and that is the argument over who was first. Of everyone on this esteemed panel here, who had the first Flame?
Well, Peter had the first Flame, but Jake and I compete for the second position. We've amicably had this argument for a long time, but we figure it's pretty much actually about the same time. The weird thing is that there was a company before us that the actual first commercial Flame was sold to a company called Walk the Bible Productions out in Atlanta, Georgia.
Really?
And they were really the first company to have one. And then my company and Jake's company sort of like, we never know which one's second, but you know.
And then I had the invoice number 3 almost around that time.
Yep.
I mean, I remember, let's see, I'm going to bring up here. I was joking with the panel here that I'm going to be, when I run Zoom, I run it like my dad, like, you know, it's like I'm looking down glasses that I don't actually have. But back, a few years ago, at NAB, Autodesk had a 20th birthday party for Flame, and they wheeled out like the first Flame. It was someone had it somewhere. I don't know where they had it. This is me and Tim Crean just for scale here next to the old Flame. But is this the hardware that you guys had? Mine again was a desk side Onyx. I'm not even aware what this is. Is this
I
like an Iris or something?
Yeah, I started. It was an Iris 4030, I think it was called, and that was the one that had it had a sidecar Sun workstation that was used for I/O for a while. No, that was where the tape drives and the hard drives went. The left side was the actual computer, right, Jean-Francois?
Correct. So that's a so-called Power Series machine before
Exactly.
the Onyx, and it would have had either GTX or VGX graphics.
Exactly.
But that was before my time at Discrete.
Yeah, and then the desk side Onyx and the Onyx came after that, and then Octane and in between there was the
Ezro. Yeah.
Flint used Tesro and another little one that I can't
O2.
remember. Yeah,
O2, the
O2.
round one, the pill.
Yeah.
Oh, the O2. Oh my
The
god.
toaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Flint also ran on the impact graphics, like the desktop PCs, but green.
The Indigo 2, the teal Indigo 2. Teal was the official color.
Yes, this was the desk side Onyx that I ran mine, I learned Flame on. And then the next place I worked at had a couple of these, like the full refrigerator size Onyx workstations. But MB, why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience in how the story you told me about like buying that first Flame, like sounded like a plot from like an Ocean's 11 film or something.
Well, I used to be the art director at ABC. I decided I wanted to quit. I started looking for a job. I found this place called Cutters that was post-production. They wanted to start a room. I had no idea what that meant. Somehow talked myself into getting hired. Basically, they hired me to take a bare room and build out a suite. And so I was like, okay. And my very first day was at NAB in Vegas. And so they never considered hiring, they didn't know about me. So they had some guy that they were going to hire, I don't know who that was, but instead hired me. So the first day at Vegas, I had no hotel room because they all paired up, obviously. So I got stuck at some Motel 6 down the street. So we go to NAB and we're on the show
Kirk
floor.
is nodding. He knows that Motel 6 in Vegas too well.
We go to NAB and the operator, the guy, one of the guys, they were like, we're looking at this latest technology. It's called, it's discrete logic, Flame. I really want to be in on it. And I was like, okay, let's take a look. So we took a look, ended up saying, okay, let's get one. I went into some hotel room with Richard, who was the owner of the company. He gave me a t-shirt and said, okay, you're getting one. We'll ship it to you. So that's how we bought it. It showed up. There's no training. There was no nothing. So we're figuring, I sat down and I called support and we tried to figure it out. And that's how I learned Flame. That's how I got Flame. So there you go. And it's history.
Jake, what about you? This was when you were at Lamb, right?
Yeah, I was at a company called Lamb and Company, and it was mainly CG, pretty much entirely CG animation. And I got laid off. I was working at a traditional animation studio, and I got laid off there. But I knew Larry because he had worked at the animation studio at one time, and they had been to, was it SIGGRAPH, I think maybe, where they first showed it. He had been there with his producer, and I was looking for a job, and they thought I might fit. So that's kind of it, you show the picture of the computers. I was not a hardware guy at all, so I know there was a room that had a bunch of machines in it that they were using for the 3D, but I didn't, I think I might have seen that box back in the machine room, but what I remember is the first the first tablets were about, I don't know, 20 inches by 15 inches or something. It was just huge, and
With cables.
yeah.
Right.
And so anyway, that was my introduction. I think Simon Mowbray trained me on the box, and I think he had been working out west and maybe in LA someplace. I'm not sure exactly, but anyway, so yeah, that's a short but sweet intro to my history with it. And I don't remember the versions or anything like that. I just remember that Gary Tregaskis stopped in from Montreal on his way to LA, where he was working with the guys who were doing the Mario Brothers movie. And he would stop there with his tapes and he would update our software, and then he'd modify some things. He'd be writing while he was there. And, it was just, and that happened about once a month, maybe, I don't remember exactly, and I know then he'd visited Wally and upgraded his software. And maybe he stopped at the Bible place too. I don't really know.
You got kicked out of the
call that
Bible
the
place,
Trinity.
but-
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, it was pretty exciting. And, I think the first job that I did wasn't actually animation. It was, I used a paint box to touch up an illustration that somebody had done. And so my first real module that I worked with was the paint. So anyway, yeah.
And at that time, paint was used for rotoscoping because it had shapes that you could animate.
Yeah,
And it also had pressure sensitivity, which only the Quantel paint box had at that time. And Photoshop could only do it in black and white around that time. So they had that. I was telling you guys earlier that the whole reason that Flame was born is because Gary was sick of having to deal with Quantel and their hardware, sending hardware to Australia. So one day he was working on this project in a 3D system, and he figured out that even though the system couldn't do pixels very well, it could do polygons really, really fast. So he started rendering a polygon per pixel. And then suddenly he had a system that could do image processing in real time as fast as you could move your pen. And even the SGI engineers couldn't figure out how he did it. So I remember that the first time, which is around the time when Mary Beth saw it and when Jake saw it, it was called Flash. And it was shown in a suite by Russell Weaver and a couple other people, and Richard Sowinski and those guys. And it was amazing because Paint had animatable shapes, which was really pretty cool. And we did a lot of rotoscoping with those before we had G-masks. At the time, you could only composite in 2D, which was a compositor, but it was really cool because you could do stuff like streak animations and things like that by rendering a whole bunch of frames and then combining them. And also it had the time warp, which was the first time anybody had ever seen anything like that. And time warp is what sold my boss on buying the box. And
You remember
really,
Wally, do you remember the phrase Russell would always go, and it's faster than real time? It was like,
exactly. and
What's
I
that?
remember at that time, we sat down with Russell and we said, look, we're really interested, but you're missing some really basic things like gradients and drop shadows and all kinds of stuff like that. And I remember that he had a partner who was an old guy who had he had all the money, and he basically, yeah, and he was a great guy, by the way. And Tom signed the contract that said he would give us back 110% of our purchase price if they didn't have those features in 6 months. And then when Russell went back to Discrete Logic at the time, they were like,
This guarantee will not be honored.
They were like, but you know what? They did get it. They got it. They did it in time. And
I
then
bribe Gary with tequila to get features. He liked mezcal, so I'd give him mezcal and say, "What can you do?"
Whatever it takes.
Yeah.
It's the earliest form of flame feedback was was using tequila, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Sinan, what
was,
about you? What's your
Go
first
ahead.
experience with Flame?
Well, being in the backwaters, I was in Turkey when I started out, and then kept there for 25 years. Well, I started as a CG artist as well on 3D. Well, I used to use 3D Studio Release 2, but before that, there was something else that ran on the Targa graphics card and Lumina Paint. So no tracking, nothing there. And then this reseller in Turkey, I, they were the best marketers, I think. At one point, at the beginning of 2000, there were more than 50 discrete logic systems in Turkey. So consider the
That's
small
amazing.
market, but the number of systems were huge. So when my company went on invested in a discrete logic system, it was first the Flint, but then we got an Inferno, and I used Inferno from then on. And the first version, I believe, was 4.0 that I started on. Then it was quickly upgraded to version 4.4 on a dot tape, and then version 5 came. And I got stuck on version 5 for quite a while.
Didn't we all?
Yeah.
Man,
So
I remember.
I used to
Oh, go-
hear about the user groups, the NAB, the Las Vegas convention, and everything was going on in the Usenet, the Flame news group then. So I was a early subscriber there, and sometimes you guys talked about labels too much.
When I first started on Flame, there was no use group. I used to send faxes to Discrete. I still have some of those faxes, wish lists and that. So
I had an exabyte version 1.0 that Mike Seymour is still pissed at me. I don't know where it is. So, how do you lose that?
Man. Well, let me ask you this. I'm gonna. Before I get too much further, I want to give Kirk Balden a lot of credit because the images and everything that I keep bringing up, so many of them were on the thread. Kirk's been like populating that stories of old Flame thread with just some like absolute gems. There's like show reels from the beginning, and some great behind the scenes pictures at Autodesk, and so yeah, as everybody's telling their stories and everything, I'll keep bringing up some more of that. But thank you, Kirk, for doing all that.
Let's hear it for hoarding. Yeah.
Hey. JFP, since speaking of things like Flame News and Inferno, and I'd love to hear a little bit of the history from your perspective, having been on the development side of what it was like.
Yeah. So I joined Discrete November '94. Amusingly, I think I joined the same day as the very tall CEO who was going to take us public, because we did the whole 1990s tech IPO thing, which was a very kind of a wild ride. But yeah, it was very, in retrospective, by the time I joined, it wasn't quite Gary going around with DAT tapes, writing code on at client sites. Although I can say quite a lot of code got written on the show floor just before trying to madly make something work for the big user group demo. And Flame New, one of the things that it is easy to forget is we didn't really have an internet back then, right? So you couldn't just distribute software over the internet. You couldn't really communicate easily. So Flame News and then the once a year user group, that was kind of it, right? That's when people got to meet up and exchange. And Flame News was kind of a big part of my life, because I felt that, I don't know, I almost felt guilty that people were paying so much money for the software. So I felt like, okay, well, we really have to make it work, because, it's a lot of money. And even though it wasn't going into my pocket, it still felt responsible. So I kind of made it a mission to answer as many, not the artistic questions, but as many technical questions as possible. And the odd thing is then when we would go and visit clients, people would meet me and they felt that they knew me because they would have like every day 20 or 30 emails from me in their inbox. And I had no idea who they were, but to me, to them, I was like, their daily Flame News friend. So it was a very odd experience. But I always got a ton out of helping people and contributing that way. I couldn't make the pretty pictures, but I could certainly help make them. So that was what I was trying to do.
The thing about Jean-Francois is that he had like this incredible library in his head, because every machine was different and we all had different versions, and the drivers were all over the place, and and then there were firmware updates of the various graphics boards, and so you'd be like, oh yeah, that's not working because version 5.7.75 doesn't work with X version unless a version such and such is there, and and we were like, just your head would explode. But he was like, it was really, I can't remember how many times I called Jean-Francois getting ready to kill myself. Because it was stuff that happened and you were just about to deliver, and and something would crop up, then you're like, what the, so, and we all became really good at tearing down the box too, because there were all these ribbon cables and all these things that could get slowly loosen up, and you have to kind of go back and it was crazy.
Receipt.
I can tell you how the precursor to Flame News came out of our first user meeting. And I think it was Wally, Jake, me, Rhonda. Who else was there?
Mike Seymour.
Seymour was it? That's right. And so we were sharing tips and tricks. And I was like, this is what we need, because I'm in a bubble here. I was in a vacuum. So after that, because we didn't have internet so much, we had email. So Jeff Huser and John Montgomery put together an email chain. That chain turned into FX Guide, and FX Guide started as just tips and tricks. And then Seymour took it to the whole next level of interviews, and there we go. That's how it all started.
Yeah, and it was interesting because that group, we would communicate like all the time. We were always like trying to find things that we could do and all of that. And there were so many people, like Peter Webb here on my screen. He was the actual first flame operator ever. And we would literally get together. This was at Debbie Ristic's house. And we would get together and just chat and talk. And, we'd lock ourselves up in the booth, in the back rooms of the booth. Or sometimes we visit somebody. This was at Alec Orto's place, and we would literally lock ourselves up in a room and just play and show each other stuff. And it was really amazing because we were in a bubble. I was literally in New Orleans. There was nothing there at all. So it was really very useful to be able to bounce things off people and be able to say, hey, have you run into this, or you've seen that, or just tricks. And look at John, he looks like a baby there, Yeah. So it was really interesting to have that opportunity.
Well, some of my closest friends came from this group, and Peter would stay at my house every year when he'd come over for the show. So
yeah, we still stay in touch. Even at this point, I haven't talked to Mary Beth in a long time, but we stayed in touch. Jake and I check in with each other once in a while. We've done lots of NABs. And there's lots of stories to tell for sure. So.
Tell some of those stories.
Yeah.
I would say from an internal perspective, that was the best part, is that instead of working on some giant piece of accounting software with millions of anonymous users, we basically had a few hundred. And these people were all doing the best work. And again, shout out to Kirk, like the demo reel that would come out every year at NAB, that was a big event. And, you got to watch that and go, wow, people did this with our software and the code that we wrote. So to me, that was always the biggest motivation, is being able to interact directly with the users and getting to go, why are you doing this? And then, oh yeah, no, actually, this is really cool. So that was the part that I enjoyed the most.
Yeah, we would be salivating before that we'd get there early and slightly drunk, but early.
Slightly.
We used to
Slightly.
meet at the Mexican place at Caesars and get margaritas before the user group.
Margarita time.
But yeah, when the reel came up, you were like, wow, man, I can't believe they did that. It's very inspiring.
Oh, totally. And those, let's talk a little bit about the show and when there would be a presentation at NAB or SIGGRAPH or IBC, on the sitting in the audience, just like everyone at home watching this episode of Logic Live, it would always look like a very polished production with no technical flaws or anything like that. Was that the experience that Kirk, you have something you'd like to add?
I mean, you may have blocked it out. I'm sure JF can verify. There was always a Unix portion of the demo. When something
the
wouldn't.
little dots core dunking.
I just remember, Martin was always very good about, well, we've reached the Unix portion of the demo when the software would not cooperate with whatever he was trying to show. It's usually during a tech demo of some kind. But yeah, generally they were quite, there he is.
Actually, I have an NAB, oops, there goes the computer story.
Oh, good, yeah.
They wanted me to come and speak. So I said, sure, because I never think about what I say and commit to. So I show up, I have no planned speech or anything. And it happened to be the day they were gonna unveil, was it Fire or Smoke? One of the
Fire
big
1.0.
Fire 1.0. So it turned out it wasn't just one room, it was a double room, right? With a panel, so it was extra large. So they had me going on in the afternoon. So we're there ready to go. They had like 2 or 3 computers and my stuff was all in one or something, I don't know. So anyway, we're getting ready for the Fire demo and that place is packed, just packed. They get up, it cracks out, right? And so it was nasty. So like, Emigh, go up, go up. I was like, hell no, they're all going up. They made me go up. I stood up there. The computer my stuff was on was mostly gone. So now I don't know what I'm going to say. I started talking. The microphone was too high. I couldn't even reach the mic. I don't know if you guys remember this. It was ridiculous. So I gave a talk. We just happened to be using the very first Sapphire Sparks. And so I was able to show a demo of what we did. And people still remember me from that I don't know. They're like, hey.
Wow.
So yeah, so that's an NAB story for you. There you go.
I'm keeping an eye on the chat on YouTube, and Fred Warren just chimed in that doing that demo was just learning how to navigate through minefields.
Oh. Hey, indeed. Really? Seriously?
The other thing to remember is that most of us at Discrete in those days, we were just kids in our 20s, right? We didn't really know necessarily what we were doing, and here we were selling these $500,000 systems. I mean, that took a lot of gal, right? Like, really, people give us this much money for this stuff? And there may, not everybody was perfectly comfortable going up on a podium in front of 1,000 of their peers. There may have been a few shots of booze taken to smooth down some nerves before going up. The user group demo was a really big thing, and and in the early days, there was a lot. I was saying, there's a lot of trying to make things, trying to sneak in one last feature just before the show, and that was never a good idea.
My biggest memory of the user group was the show. I think it was at SIGGRAPH in Orlando when they premiered the Rolling Stones video.
Oh yeah.
And
Love is strong.
It was like literally, we were like, what the fuck? That is, because it really did kind of change, it's like when Vico did that thing with the skeleton thing, that the kinematics with the skeleton, you just looked at it and you went like, poof,
Yep.
It really was amazing to see. And when things started, like, when the morphing thing started and also when action first came out and you could do, this kind of semi 3-dimensional spaces and all of that. was really amazing. And I think that I feel like we all were able to sort of be there for some things that became just amazing, like what Peter Webb did on What Dreams May Come, or or pretty much any movie since, I don't know, forever, had been touched some way or another.
Yeah, totally. That's kind of what I meant at the beginning there, or what I referenced at the beginning, was like everything was new. It was the first time any of us had ever done any effects like that, and so much of it you were figuring it out. You were the pioneer, and whether it was on the hardware side, the software side, or the user side.
No, and I think that what Jean-Francois said is important too, is that we were all young too. We were all like literally making it up as we went. And, we'd be in these situations where like we were doing a music video, some big star, and the producer came to us and said, he has to look like Barbie. His skin has to look like Barbie. And we were like sitting there going like, okay, how are we supposed to do that? And after 3,500 frames of rotoscoping and tracking and masking and whatever, the thing came out, and the man was just blown away. It was, those things that were just priceless. It was amazing. So
Totally.
Sinan, it is.
Yeah, in
go ahead.
2001, I remember, I don't know the name of the website then, but being the coolest jobs in the world, being an Inferno artist was number 2 after being an astronaut in 2001. I searched for it. I found a more recent article in 2009. We're in the 5th place. But in 2001, being an Inferno artist was the coolest second job ever.
Man.
It was.
Yeah.
It still is.
Yes, it was.
It was.
Those poor astronauts.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Suckers going to college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 times.
I mean, I'm a dropout. I studied aeronautical engineering, but I'm a dropout for 2 years and then out the door. I don't know about you guys, but I never did get a proper education in this visual arts thing. But I mean, hardware, software, graphics, editing, we have to know all the stuff. We still know all the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm amazed that I survived in it without knowing much math at all, because that was my weak part is, when people started figuring out all the formulas for particles, we used to share, like we had this super double secret group called Spec that that used to be, there you go. And people would walk around and they were like, what's Spec? And, they didn't know. And, we were pretty influential at one point. But we also got to try all the goodies pretty early. And it was amazing, when we started using particles, nobody knew how to use them. And I remember, Peter and Mike Seymour and them, they were all figuring out transparency and timings and all these things. And, it was pretty cool because it was a very open sort of like sharing kind of space. And, I think that was probably the coolest thing about it, is that, people would find something and, hey, look, I found this, and for us that were in the, like I said, in the boondocks in New Orleans or now in Miami, there was no one else to kind of talk to. So it was really very important,
Jake sent me some pictures, and I believe this is you, Wally, at one of these super double secret Spec dinners.
Yeah.
Right?
The best ones were at the House of Blues dining room up there. Oh my God, that place is incredible. Anyway,
yeah, there have been many things that have come out of that room that will not be mentioned, at least in this public forum.
I tell you what, the bills were unbelievable. I mean, when I would get back, and I was lucky because I was the owner, right? So I didn't have to fight anybody. But I would get back and my partner would look at me and say, $350 per person. Something ridiculous, it was all booze, but it's crazy.
It was definitely a great place to go when someone else was paying. I can also attest to that. What about let's just chat a little bit for everyone here about like your aha moment. You know, either when you sat down on the boat, like we all started, you know, at some point, we all didn't know what we were doing, and then at some point it clicks, you know.
When I
And I'd
get there,
love to
I'll
hear.
let you know, Andy.
Oh, thank you very much, Emmy. You and me both.
I think that for me, the most amazing thing was when a client showed up with footage of a Ford Bronco or a Ford Explorer on top of a dam that was closed when they showed up to do the spot. And they shot like these little streams of water down at the very bottom of the dam, and they wanted us to make the thing look like it was open. And you know, the first reaction was just like basically panic, you know, because here we are, you know, I was we're at the place used to be Limelight Video, which was, you know, one of the premier houses in the country, which at that time was in decline. And I had been brought in to run their new flame and hopefully save some of it. I really honestly didn't know what to do. I was so scared. And this is a time when Latin American clients would come to Miami, and it would be like, you know, picked up in limos and all of that. And it was and when that shot was done, it was so beautiful, and it was so like beyond what anybody expected. That was my favorite moment, I think, in my career. It was like, it was made from absolutely nothing, you know, and that was really cool. And so
I had one where I was given a shot that they had taken somewhere else, my top competitor, and they couldn't get it. So they give it to me and they're like, what can you do with this? And I'm thinking, well, they're good. If they can't get it, what the hell am I going to do? So I said, oh, okay, we'll try. So they go away. I have my assistant work on it with me. So I said, you take, or he was another flame artist at the time. They said, you take it, I'll take it. Let's see what we can come up with. In 5 minutes, I had it. And I was like, holy shit, now what do I do? I can't tell them it was that fast. And I went, you know, it's just all the different tools. Every time I just keep trying stuff. And that's what I like the most. There's not one way to skin that cat. So, but that
yeah, you know, the tools were so amazing because especially, you know, when there was no 3D tracking yet, you know, to do this dam shot, I mean, it was a pull out of a car all the way to basically seeing the whole dam, and to get things to track and to whatever at that time, you know, without 3D tracking, it was amazing. And that was exactly it. It was just like the combination of all the tools without having to import and export and save and render and go back, and it just made a big difference.
Sinan, what about you?
Well, like Wally said, I was given a job that required a 3D camera tracker, but there were none, and that we didn't know about it. So I managed to get it done. Before getting the job done, I went to the bathroom to throw up because I was in such a panic, literally. And then I come back and I do some 2D tracking and try to figure out how it would translate into a 3D camera and do some like keyframe analytics and like extrapolation, doing external keyframes over there. And then I got it to work. And after 2 days, I delivered the job, which was the few moment. And I remember, I think it was the beginning of 2000, early 2000s. We didn't have the lens flares then, but I had figured it out by using sort of XYZ translations using the expressions. I got action lens flares in Flame before the original implementation. I had shared it on FX Guide or something, I think. Yeah, I got invited to NAB to show it off by the Autodesk team, I believe, or Discrete Logic team, but my boss didn't let me go because I had a project to deliver.
Oh, that we can all relate to.
Yeah.
Kirk, what about you?
What was an aha moment in programming?
Well, I'll be quick. So I didn't come along until I don't think I got my hands on. I started on Smoke 1.0, at Redcar, and I think 98. I've been able to kind of narrow it down through context clues. But I would say that the fact that, and there's a whole long story there, but I ended up by process of elimination as the artist. That was not the company's first choice for how to solve this problem. But there was a series of moments there. I think we got it in maybe sometime around Thanksgiving. And by the next summer, we were doing real jobs on it. And every single time I was able to, and I can't stress this enough, a child. I was 21 years old. I had no business on that machine, but we were doing stuff, and we would I would have 3 or 4 editors and the owner of the company. Every time we had to do anything, there was always a crazy deadline. It was always assumed that it wouldn't happen and we'd have to go to Hollywood Digital or Post Logic or somebody to bail us out. And, we need to get this helicopter blade out of the sky on this one shot. Can you do that? Yeah, I can do that. And then I would do it and they'd be like, oh, wait, really? It's done? Yeah, it's done. And so I did, there was probably 8 months of every day having one of these aha moments of like, this is possible. We can actually, A, I can make a living doing this, and B, this company can actually make money with this box. It was, everyone was more shocked than probably I should be comfortable with, but it was very gratifying. And then, having had experience with Avid, having had experience with Adobe, and having basically those companies as black boxes that you could not interface with except if something was broken. And even then it was like, we'll try turning it off and turning it back on again. Being able to talk to people in Montreal basically anytime I wanted, having them come out and visit proactively and check on us, like that provided a sense of security that I think engendered a loyalty that no other company has been able to match, just because like these guys, they had our backs for years. And that was huge. So it's like, I don't care if the software only works half the time. Like these guys are gonna, come through when we need them to. So I appreciated that.
Yeah, JF, was there something development wise that was like an aha moment for you on that side of the business?
I think that there's some more techie stuff where we realize, in retrospective, that we are both very, artisanal in how we approach things, but also very, we had some stuff where we were fairly advanced. There was a lot of freedom given to developers, right? Most developers, you could just kind of have an idea and run away with it. I had maybe a bit of a special position. No one ever told me what to do. I would just come in and, today I feel like doing this. And there was a kind of expectation that, well, as long as you keep delivering value, it's fine, right? There was very little micromanagement. So that was really good. But one thing I would say, maybe from a developer point of view or something, is that today it's expected that tech companies have, cappuccino machines and great environments, but that was not the case back then, right? I previously worked for an aerospace company, which was awful. I mean, it was great work, but it was awful. And, I think that was one of the genius of Richard, is to structure a software company to be like an ad agency in a way. Like I remember walking in for my initial interview, and I think I just crossed the door. Okay, I want to work here, right? Like I don't care what the offer is. They said you'll get stock options. I didn't know what that meant, but it was just an environment which at the time was unique for attracting and retaining engineers. It just made you want to be there. So I think that was in a way quite revolutionary at the time.
There was a funny moment where I was up Montreal, and maybe you know who this is, Jean-Francois. It was another JF programmer, and I'm there, and he's like very unassuming. He comes out, he goes, "You want to see what I was working on today?" I was like, "Sure." So we go back full anti-aliasing. It was like, whoa, our motion blur, one of the big ones. And he's like, yeah, I just thought of that this morning. I was like, Jesus. But that would happen a lot back then up there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That, yeah, it's like people would figure. I mean, there were some long-running projects where multiple people were working towards a goal, but there was also a whole lot of, oh, I just did this. You know, the quote unquote new tracker that was in Flame 4, if I remember well, that was one dude's crazy night hacking run, and he came up with that. So
Yeah, I think that it was interesting that the company was very open to all kinds of input as well. I was telling the guys that when Gary came to work at our site in New Orleans, we were at a mining company, and I was sitting there working on something, and he turns on and he says, "How do you do that?" I said, "What?" He said, "Well, how did you do that thing with the audio?" And I said, "Oh, well, I recorded LTC on the Flame audio track, and I'm triggering Pro Tools with the LTC." And at the time, DigiDesign didn't want to talk to them about it, so that's how Stream was born. It was basically using a subsystem to do audio like that, and that was something that was literally an accidental sort of interaction. But he went back and he kept looking at ways to doing something like that, because we needed audio really bad, and we only had a stereo track, and by doing that, it expanded the options. So, he went back and eventually they made a deal with another company to do Sonic something to do the Sonic Solutions to do the stream audio, before the hardware got to a point where it could handle multiple audio tracks. But it was born from something like that. And I think that, if I could leave with just one thing, is that, the amount of input that we had to this product was prodigious. It was, you could literally pick up the phone and call someone and says, "Hey, what if this could do that?" And many times you hear like, "Wow, that's a great idea," or let me think about that. And, sometimes it would happen, sometimes it wouldn't, but it was, you felt like you could say that, you could, bring it up.
One thing I want to say, and this is to Andy, is the current Logic that you guys have created is bringing back all the things I love most about the early days. And I think Jake and Wally especially will agree. I mean, we have the community again. Autodesk listens, they're implement. I mean, all these stories are kind of, this is like 2.0 in the current day. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I haven't been on the
All
box.
that's missing is full rate card, right?
Baby steps.
Yeah,
I haven't been on the box in a long time, and I still follow it.
I'm trying to learn something today. That's what I'm saying. Aha moments. I'm like trying something new today that I'm learning from what I got on forum, the fluid morph, whatever that is. Every day.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you.
Again, so.
Thank you. Yeah, well, we're thank you. We love doing it. We really do. It's just we get just as much out of it, Randy and I. And so thank you everybody for.
Well, you can tell it really shows. So that's cool.
The spirit's alive.
It also got us off Facebook again.
What?
Yes.
It got me off of Facebook, so I'm free of Facebook now. That was my sole reason for being on Facebook.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah.
Of course, I just found a picture that I wanted to share. But
can I share one potentially apocryphal anecdote from way back when?
Yes.
Oh, please! Those are the best kind.
So the text module in Flame was never the strongest part of the application.
Really? It's funny. The community hasn't mentioned that. Actually, somebody mentioned Paint in the YouTube chat, but text.
And it had some interesting bugs, and in particular, if you played around with some of the parameters, sometimes you get these weird spiky things that would shoot out
with softness,
characters. So there's an apocryphal story that was the inspiration for the title sequence of Island of Dr. Moreau, which had and I guess today you would call Zalgo text. But yeah, so apparently that was a apocryphal story that this weird bug in Flame inspired that title sequence.
So I don't dispute it, because if you do, I think it's if you set a negative value on softness that the spikes pop out from the text. It looks exactly like the title sequence style in Dr. Moreau. If you ask Karen Fong or Christo, who designed that type, they will have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. I've asked them many times. They're like, where do people get this? We don't understand. Now, that doesn't mean it's not true. They may have just forgotten, but I did say it was apocryphal. Yeah, no. I think it's probably true. They just have forgotten. Because listen, there were a lot of things going on at RGA and people have forgotten a lot of stuff.
There's someone that's not here that I think should probably get a mention. Besides Jeff User and Peter Webb, is Sheena Dugal. Sheena was a champion, of Flame, and she was the one that was there and brought it into some of the bigger places and did some amazing stuff with it, and still doing a lot of great VFX work. But I probably, of our group, I miss her the most.
Yeah, it's her and Peter on Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
There was just, Philippe Soireau just chimed in on the YouTube chat. So I think it's only fitting, since Gary sent me these pictures, that I share this picture of probably Philippe's grandson at this point.
Oh, wow.
Man.
Who's that next to Philippe? That was
that was John Montgomery.
No, the girl.
Candace Scott, yeah.
Oh, Candace is great.
She's awesome.
And Sheila Santos. Candace,
great
I
people.
remember her.
One of those pictures I sent you, Andy, has a picture of Sheila back in the day, where she's sitting in a group of us. It was like a post user group meeting, and we went and had drinks in some bar.
Every single one of these pictures is a group of you having drinks.
Well, that says a lot.
Wait a minute, let me cycle through here.
No, it's like the fuel, man. Alex, Debbie.
Yeah.
Stephen White.
Jeff User. Look at John Stevens.
John Stevens, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm stuck on the setting here. It's just there's so many things going on pattern-wise that I'm.
Flashes really make great photos, don't they?
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
That was the time when we couldn't make the dinner, so they had our cutouts on the table.
There you
go.
Yeah. Go to the next one. There's Sheena.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's Sheila back in the corner there. Santos.
Yeah, and is that Shannon Noble next to her? No.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I still talk to Shannon all the time.
Yeah. Oh, there's me. Oh my God.
Wait, where?
That's Mary Beth's granddaughter.
Right.
Is that you?
Was that mine? No, that's whose house?
Yeah, that's you. That's you.
Oh my goodness.
And some of these could be at my house. I mean, I used to have everybody over.
That's me on the left when I was skinny.
Yeah, that one just underneath that photo, Andy, is view
Back
from
my old house.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I remember there was like a little terrace on the top, huh, Mary Beth?
Yeah, I had a bunch of different terraces, and it was all Mexican. It was like
That was a cool house.
It was a hot tub was right behind us.
Yeah.
I think we got into it after a couple of shots.
Wow.
The old days.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. I want to thank you all for joining today and for sharing some of these memories. And
yeah, thanks.
again, I want to encourage everyone, if you haven't already done it, head on over to the forum and check out the Stories of Old Flame post. These are some pictures that there's Paul Andrews. You can date him by his mustache. Yeah. That Kirk had shared of deep within the bowels of discreet. And then the the chill booth at NAB. I do remember that. But it's great. Oh yes, there you go. Speaking of someone, there's a very young Stefan.
Read the famous
this one's
manual.
That's it. But yeah, this is now 207 posts long or threads, whatever it is. It's a really
Started by
amazing-
Andy Dill, it should be pointed out. So
yeah, and it was
really
over something
wanna-
like it was the blend mode, like the old blend
Yeah.
modes. How you
Yeah.
like transparency didn't work back in the day. Yeah, there you go.
You had to hack it with color correct. Yeah.
As you should. Damn it, as you should. I just wanted to end with this picture, which now I can't find. Oh my God, my father would be so proud if he would have watched me navigate this. I hold on, I have it here. There's one. When oh, there we go. Great, found it. When we made the transition over to Linux and got rid of our Onyxes, of course, I said goodbye to before this got hauled away into the garbage. Inferno 3. I thanked it for the core dumps. I loved this machine. I know Kirk's probably, putting some type of very inappropriate caption to the body position and everything. It was, there were a lot of late nights with this machine, but
Caption writes itself. I don't have to do
Inferno
anything.
3.
thank you very much. But this hardware was more. I mean, it's been a lifetime we've spent with this stuff, and man, it's just kind of crazy to think what was. I worked at one place that had 4 of these all linked together.
Wow.
Well, they weren't. I mean, they were linked together by a hippie network. We didn't have that whatever like Infinity Link or whatever. You could
Craylink.
600 Craylink. Thank you. We didn't have Craylink. We had a hippie switch that was in one of the flames, one of the onyxes. So when that room went down, nothing worked. It was a wonderful time. Let me tell you. Let me do this. This has become my favorite part of the Logic Live experience, and that is giving away a little prize. So I have here, speaking of amazing programming, Jeff, you'll appreciate this. I have here this free website of a spinning wheel that I found, and we're going to give away, Randy and I are trying something new. All the kids are doing it nowadays. At least I see it on TikTok. I believe it's called merch. And so we're experimenting with a couple little things. Like we have a Logic TV mug here. It's great to hide alcoholic beverages from your employers and your coworkers while you're on that morning Zoom. I just realized that some of them are on this, are watching Logic Live right now, so I will be switching back to a clear glass for the Monday meeting. But let's see here. Who was the lucky person that's going to win that? This is amazing. It's probably Java or something. John! Oh, man. Congratulations, John. I'll send that to you. It'll take another 8 weeks to get there, like your mask did. But congratulations, John. All right. There we go. That's going to do it. Thank you again, Wally and MB and Jake and Sinan and JF and Kirk. Thank you so much. I'm going to switch over to my slideshow, which is right here, and we'll close this out. Oh my God, I failed this again. Hold on. Wait a minute. Let's just, man, this is what happens when you do a show on Saturday instead of Sunday. This summer, we're going to do the Logic Live Summer of Flame. Once a month for the next 3 months, we're going to have someone from the dev team on to talk about Flame and Flame development in 2022 and anything else that anyone else would like to talk about. So Sunday, June 6th, we have the lovely and talented Fred Warren. Sunday, July 11th, we have the talented and lovely Stefan Labrie, and then a man who needs no further adjectives, Yasmin Frenet, will be on in August to actually give the developer's perspective, which should be kind of fun. Coming up on Logic Live, the next one is going to be June 6th with Fred. We have the Memorial Day holiday coming up here in the U.S., and I don't know about the rest of you, but it's time to go somewhere. And so, we're getting together with family and I'm going to see my mom and my grandmother, and it's going to be awesome. So Sunday, June 6th will be Fred Warren. And then stick around for Sunday, June 13th, ladies and gentlemen, because Kirk Balden is going to be on to share some wisdom and I'm sure a few stories.
Yeah.
And then Sunday, July 11th, of course, Stefan Labrie. If you haven't already signed up for the forum, please do it, forum.logic.tv. Thank you very much, Randy, for kicking ass and keeping that going. we're up to, wow, those stats are so amazing. I'm flying right by them. We get over 5,000 page views a day and 100,000 page views a month on the forum. I don't have the stat. Maybe Randy, if you want to chime in, but like the average response time is like less than a half an hour. So it's really become an amazing place to get questions answered, to share knowledge, and to stay connected. So thank you, Randy McEntee, for that. This episode of Logic Live, like all others, will be available on logic.tv. This past week, speaking of MB, we released the very first episode of Ask a Flame Artist. That's a podcast hosted by Randy, where he asks a flame artist, the lovely and talented MB, any questions you might have. If you go over to logic.tv, you can submit a question, and it'll be in the next episode. And it's available now. Look at that in your podcasting app of choice.
And if you call out, you get a set of Ginsu knives.
A free set of steak knives. Speaking of Ginsu knives, never mind. I was gonna. Wow, I just totally dead aired myself.
Sorry.
Victor Lewansky. Have you seen Victor Lewansky's like TikTok channel where he's like sharpening knives now?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Wally, I'm not crazy. I'm just having a private conversation with Wally. That's all. There'll be another episode of the Logic podcast coming out soon. So look out for that. Thank you. Thank you very much for everybody who's pushed us over the top in subscribers to get us over the 1,000 hump. And that's probably it'll be sometime in the year 2028 when we break 5,000. But Randy and I are committed to seeing this thing through to the end. Oh, I totally forgot about that transition I put in. Thank you very much to all of our patrons for sponsoring us on Patreon. If you'd like to support what we're doing here at Logic, patreon.com/LogicTV. If something's not working, or if you want it to work better, please reach out to our friends at Gunpowder, Tom and Tom, info@gunpowder.tech. I should have brought my inhaler. Boris Effects, if you'd like to save 15% on any of their products, use the Logic-15 code at checkout. Thank you, Steve Losi and AJA, for sponsoring Logic Live. And of course, thank you to Steve and company at Synesys, Solutions Development, Integration, and Support. Synesys.io, supporting flame artists since 1997. Thank you again, everybody. And we'll see you in a few weeks. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.